Hi, welcome to Sheepish, episode 15.5. I'll explain that in a little bit. Today is Tuesday, May 7th. Wow. Or what's left of it. It is currently 11:15 or so at night, which means this won't go out until tomorrow. My name is Holly, and I'm your host, and welcome. So it's been a while since I recorded. Yeah. Most of you have already figured out life kind of blew up. And honestly, since I took my trip to Atlantic City at the beginning of March, beginning at second and third weeks of March. Oh, hi. And George wants to be in on this, so hey, babe. Oh, George. Say hi to the internet. But since then, since my train ride home, I guess on the 19th of March, something like that, I haven't picked up needles. Or I've picked up needles and then I've put them down. I probably didn't pick them up for a good month. Yeah. I lost all knitting mojo. And I was swamped. Work's been busy. I actually had a small scare in that I've been working with a person down in my team for all of this calendar year so far. And I thought a few weeks ago I was going to lose another team member. Not to anything bad, he just found a better opportunity. And luckily for me, yay, I was sad for him, but it fell through. So he's staying, and that makes my life a lot easier. So yeah, things are starting to settle down. It's been really busy, so I haven't even really been able to teach all that much lately, which I miss. And I'll talk more about teaching in the What's Making Me Happy section. But yeah, so I thought that I would go ahead and record. I actually thought about recording before Sheep and Wool just to say, hi, I'll be at Sheep and Wool, but that fell through. I am doing this practically with no show notes. And when I say practically, it's just been so long that I had to write out this much to remind me what's going on. So yeah, welcome to everybody who's joined the group, who's discovered the podcast in my absence. I actually got a few notifications on YouTube that new people have subscribed. So welcome. I hope to see you all. Hopefully, if you're not on Ravelry, you'll join Ravelry and you'll join the group. And to any new people in the group on Rav, I have been in my absence, woefully absent from Ravelry as well. So I am slowly but surely making a return. Thank you to everybody who sent me Rav messages. I am going to get back to those this week. And private clerks and on Twitter who've either DM'd me or just messaged me, replied me on Twitter. Thank you. You guys really are the greatest, and you guys understand, and big puffy hearts. Love you all. So let's go ahead and get started. So the current roster, it hasn't changed a bit. Now the only problem is I could not find one of my sock projects. I know. I had it in my hands Sunday, I think. It's gone missing. I don't know where it's gone. It's around here somewhere. I'll find it. I'll get back to working on it, but it really hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. I got some work done on it on the train up to Atlantic City back in March, and that's about it. And I think I only did maybe a repeat or two. But I did get to the heel turn on that, and that's actually, as I'm talking about it, I should probably tell you what I'm talking about. See, it's been a long time. The bow ties are cool socks. I am knitting them out of a beautiful red yarn. I want to say it's the Enchanted Fiber. Don't quote me on that. I know it's it's on my Ravelry page because I actually uploaded it like a good girl for once. but it's on there, and it should be in my show notes from previous shows. And I will do my best to try and find that out and update the show notes. But I do have a picture of that, and I'm going to throw that in at some point. So you'll see what progress was made. The heel has been turned, and now I just need to get myself motivated to work on the foot. That was originally cast on for the Knitting in Circles pop culture knit along that Amy and Darren did for March. Yeah, didn't happen for me. The second item that's on the needles is an item that I've been fairly cagey about. When I started thinking about podcasting about this again, I was like, oh, I've told you guys what this is, what the name of it is, and then I realized it was in an episode that I recorded and subsequently did not put up because I wasn't happy with it. That's where the 0.5s come in. I'll explain more later. But this is the Allons-y sock. It is my own pattern. This is the first time I'm really kind of showing it, and I'm not going to do really too up close, just because I want there to be a little bit of mystery. It is done out of String Theory, the Caper sock yarn, in the Snow White Stress colorway, or as I like to call it, TARDIS Blue, because Allons-y is the catchphrase. Every Doctor has a catchphrase if you're a Doctor Who fan, and most of you know that I am one. And the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, Allons-y was his catchphrase. So when I saw this, I knew that they had to have something to do with the TARDIS, and I just knew that they were going to be called Allons-y. So hopefully, now that I've got the heel figured out, so you can kind of see it's a slip stitch gusset heel going toe up. Now that I've got that figured out, all the math for it figured out, because it's a little odd, the numbers are a little odd, I can actually get around to writing it up. So hopefully I'll have that written up at some point, probably not this week, but maybe next week. And once I do, I'll be looking for test knitters. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a thread on the RAV boards. Of course, it means I need to be on the RAV boards. Yeah, I know. Bad knitter. That means I need to be on the RAV boards, but I will be looking for test knitters. And so if you're interested, keep an eye out for that. I'll probably take the first 3 or so. We'll see. Just to test knit it and tell me if I've done anything wrong. One thing that I already know about the heel is that the way I have it written right now, it's a little short. So I just need to change those dimensions. It fits, it's just really snug because it's just a hair short. So I just need to change the instructions on that. So yeah, and that's, oh, whoa, that was out of focus, sorry. But that's living in my Jessalou TARDIS bag because, hi, TARDIS blue socks, Doctor Who theme, TARDIS bag. Yeah. So, let's see. So we've talked about the 2 pairs of socks. Celestarium, beautiful gray shawl, still on the needles. It'll get done someday. I just haven't had a chance to. And living in my yarn pop tote, which I love. I love the size. I love everything except this. This is the only latch for this to go on, and I don't know if you, yeah, that little thing right there, that hook, I can get it on there, it hooks, and then it just falls off. Now it looks like the newer bags, because I got this when they first came into Fiberspace, so year and a half ago maybe. It looks like the later bags have tabs on both sides, so you can carry it crossbody, which for me is an important thing, because the only way I can carry this crossbody, well, the only way I can carry this crossbody is if I clip it to the zipper and then have it open, which a little inconvenient, I would think. So it looks like they changed that in the new design. I'm not going to run out and get a new one because I don't need a new knitting bag. If I happen to fall on one, oh well, but it's not what I'm going out and looking for, not actively looking for it. So that brings me to the big project, and really the only one that's gotten any appreciable love on it, because I did most of the knitting, and I did the math for the heel on Allons-y before I went up to Atlantic City, and then I guess I had just finished the heel, so turning the heel and doing the heel flap. I'd finished that, and I was working on the pattern, so on the leg of the sock on the train ride up, the first trip. So yeah, it's been a while. But the one thing that has been seeing love is the Celia pullover. Yes, I'm still working on this. I'm still slogging along on this. It's a lot of stitches. I really don't know what possessed me. I'm actually thinking of putting this into an active timeout. I need to come up with what that's going to be. But I am thinking of putting it in active timeout where I work on it every once in a while, but it's just becoming such a slog that I don't want to pick it up. And I really should. The yarn is beautiful. It will be gorgeous on me when it's done, but I just can't get to it. And actually I've been taking this to work when I work on webinars, because I can just knit on it fairly mindlessly. I'm done all of my decreases. I don't know if you can actually see that, but I've done all of, I'm losing it. There we go. Done all of my waist shaping decreases, and I've started my increases. I love it. I will love this sweater to death when it's done. It's just a matter of getting it there. And for the eagle-eyed among you, you may notice the needles. They're not the needles that this, well, A, started on, and B, were moved to. Yeah, if you remember, I was using my signature US 5s that I had ordered for this. I'd started off with a pair of Haya Sharps with the signature 5s, and I knit most of the body of this on the signature 5s. The cord separated itself from the needle, and it happened at Fiber Space actually, and I didn't have a size 5 on me to save anything, so I ran downstairs and bought one. But you know, I frequently have something that I can work on when I'm teaching, just so that I can put it down, pick it up, use it for instructional purposes, but not have to knit another of whatever. There are only so many Anschlag scarves I can use. I always start them off, and then I'm like, all right, done. So I generally have something that I can work on, and it happened while I was in the middle of demonstrating something to somebody. Yeah, I ran downstairs, picked everything up, and all is good. I got in contact with Signature Needles, and this is part of what's making me happy, but I'm going to say it now just because. I got in touch with Signature Needles because my friend Michelle, you've heard me mention her on the show before, excuse me. My friend Michelle, she is traveling knitter on Ravelry. She had a similar problem because she was working on a big blanket, and she contacted Signature, and Signature does have a guarantee, a lifetime guarantee for their needles, and they replaced hers no problem. And so I called them up. I talked to Diane, I believe her name was. It was either Diane or Debbie. I'm sorry. I know that they don't watch, but if this gets back to you, sorry, I've forgotten your name, but you were lovely. And I explained my problem. She had me send her a picture of them. Thank God we all have camera phones, because I was able to do that. And within like 2 hours, I got a confirmation saying my order was being processed, that they were sending me a new set. And I had I was going camping the next weekend, and they arrived the day that I left, which I wasn't really taking knitting with me camping. But it was nice to know that when I got back, they were there. They made sure that I got them, and I'm very happy with that. For that, Signature will always have my business. I posted on Facebook a picture of the broken needles, saying, you really never want your needles that you consider the Cadillac of needles, because they are so expensive, but they're worth it, to break. But they won me over with customer service. So thank you, Signature. If you're out there, if you're watching, if this gets back to you, you are awesome. And you've got a loyal customer, because just for that. So yeah. So I'm going to move them back onto the replacements eventually. I just haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, so Celia, she's there. She's growing. I have finally cracked into the 4th ball, which I'm getting a lot out of each ball. So I'm kind of surprised. I shouldn't be. There's a lot of yarn in each ball Wow. But yeah, I'm a little surprised, and I'm happy. So I get a lot of pleasure out of one ball. But yeah, so that's living in that. Trying to think. I think those are the 4 projects that I've been working on for the last few months. Which is why I'm like, I should just go ahead and work on the socks and maybe cast on something different, just so it's exciting. I just don't want it to be, every episode to be a current roster parade. You know? Since there's not a lot going on this week, I'm just going to go ahead and roll the alumni report in. Obviously, nothing's been finished. Sad panda. So, you know, hopefully I'll have something at some point finished soon-ish. Yeah. One can only hope, right? Excuse me, it's tea. It's a wonderful jasmine green tea. And while it's fairly not decaffeinated, it's just got a tiny kick that I'm like, okay, I can be up and I'm not yawning. Because trust me, not attractive when I yawn. So, yeah, so let's go ahead and we'll move on to the scouting report. So, the scouting report. Yeah, I'm actually not going to show you everything that I've picked up. And I've actually been really good. But everything that I've picked up, needle and yarn-wise, before this episode. Simply because there's a lot to talk about this week. I actually, well, this past weekend, the first weekend in May, is always Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, up in West Friendship, Maryland, at the fairgrounds up there. And I generally have not been going. I think that this year was my first sheep and wool in maybe 4 years, maybe 5. It's been a while, because I usually go camping that weekend, or something else is happening and I'm there. So this year I actually had nothing planned. There was the camping trip, like the annual camping trip that I do, and I was just like, I don't really feel like it. And I haven't gone in a couple of years to that, so I was like, you know, I'm going to go to Sheep and Wool. So, my friend Michelle and I we got up super early on Saturday, piled in our Mini, and hit Starbucks. I think I was at her place just before 7. Yeah, like just before 7. And we went to Starbucks and we're on the road by 7:30. That never happens for me. That was awesome. So we drove up. We had a plan, or I had a plan and she was going with it, because Michelle is awesome. We had done a little bit of scouting of the vendors, and I said, okay, there are 4 vendors that I need to see. And, well, I started off with 2 vendors. Because Signature was going to be there, so I was like, I have to see Signature. And Into the World was there. And they do the Doctor Who colorways, and I have heard nothing but great things about their yarn. So I had to go. So those 2 were like the I absolutely must. And then, well, actually, no. Into the World was later. Jenny the Potter. Jenny the Potter and Signature Needles were the 2 that we absolutely must. And then as I went through the vendor list, I'm like, you know, I'm adding Into the World in. And, oh, Hobbledehoy Fibers. I've heard about them on the Knit Girls. And I remember that Lala was saying that she loved it. I really am susceptible to suggestion. So I was like, 4 vendors. I had them marked out on the map. I knew we had to hit Jenny the Potter first. Everything else I could go with the flow on. So when we got to the fairgrounds, we immediately went and got in the line for Jenny the Potter. And it was long, but we weren't the last ones in line for very long. And once the fairgrounds opened at 9, that line went really quickly. They had 2 people taking money. So one was doing cash, one was doing credit, and one person who was wrapping up all of the mugs, and one person doing crowd control, who had the most awesome leggings on. They looked like they were stockinette stitch. They were like silk screened, but they looked like they were rainbow striped stockinette stitch. It was awesome. As you can see, I did manage to get a mug. And this is Jenny the Potter's Maryland Sheep and Wool mug. I'm going to turn it around. If you don't know Maryland, Maryland is known for its blue crabs. So I knew that the Maryland Sheep and Wool mug was going to have that on there. So I was very happy to score this. I wanted a larger one. I was willing to pay whatever for a larger one because I drink out of mugs that are as big as my head. And I had my eye on one, and this guy got it before I did. But I wasn't leaving without one, so yay! I guess it's like a perfect amount for nighttime tea. But when I was in line, I happened to see part of her, I guess it's tree collection, that sometimes has owls in it, and I wanted that mug, but it wasn't the right one. So, whoops, sorry if that just shook. So, Michelle actually spotted this on the other side. And so, it's a gray sheep, but I'm not finished. It's a black sheep with yarn. Adorable. And this cup, this mug, definitely taller. Yeah, so it might be just as wide. So, yeah, I had to get those. They're kind of awesome. So that was our first stop. Our second stop was the main barn because that's where Signature was. And Into the World. They were both in that main barn. And we took a look at the Signature line and it was out of control, like down the barn. Yeah. So we walked around and I saw that Loop was there. Yeah. Remember me, the girl that doesn't own a wheel, that spins really, really poorly on a spindle? I would like to preface all of this, Mom, because I know that my mom watches, with I love you very much, and I saved up for this. And of course she will see it all in a moment because it was brought in from the car. Yeah. So I was at the Loop booth, and I saw 2 bats that had to come home with me. So the first one I'm going to actually open this up because I closed it a little while ago just so I could protect it. This is her Bullseye Bump, and it's called Forest Nightfall. And I don't know, oh yeah, you can see that it's got some Angelina in there, but it's merino bamboo and Angelina. I aspire to work on this, and it's so soft. Oh my god. But it goes from this gorgeous, gorgeous light green to kind of a yellowy pea green to more of a spring green to this nice dark kind of navy green, and then this almost black green. It's beautiful. I don't know why, but the greens were just inspiring. So that's the first bump. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of me going out of frame. I guess I should apologize for that first. And then the second one, because there had to be two, it's called A River Runs. And this is, oh my gosh, gorgeous. If I can get it to open. Yeah. Ooh, and that's pretty true to color. Again, I'm not really, lately I've been more of a blue person, like a blues and greens person. I'm not usually, but something is just, oh. And this is merino bamboo and tussa silk. I just want to roll around in this. Yeah, I may have complained loudly to Michelle about the fact that I'm getting fiber and no feel, and she was very helpful in pointing out all the vendors who had wheels. Yeah, I did not get a wheel. I am still holding out hope that, or really just, I need to get off my butt and do it, but I want to rent a wheel and see if that even takes for me. So I need to get in contact with, I think it's the Yarn Spot, but I can't, not 100% sure, but they're in Wheaton, and see what their prices are, and private lessons, because I think that getting that one-on-one is going to help, and then I can aspire to that. And if I actually take to it, then I'll buy a wheel. Then I'll save and buy a wheel. And if I don't, well, then there might be some really pretty fiber that's going up on Ravelry. But I'm going to think positively. So yeah, we went through, and this was all while trying to find Into the World. Oh, at the Loop booth, I ran into an old customer of mine who I instantly recognized, but I couldn't remember her name. I'm sorry if you're watching. I don't think you do, but if you are, sorry. Couldn't remember her name, but I remember she was a really sweet customer. And she had moved away, and then she moved back into the area, and so I filled her in on why the yarn shop was not open anymore, but gave her rave reviews about Fiberspace, told her I was teaching there. And while I was at the Loop, I actually got recognized, which still makes me giggle and blush a bit, because I wasn't expecting that. If I had actually been on the game and had been recording, I would have ordered buttons, and I would have told you guys, come and find me, I will give you a button. But I didn't think about any of that because I was just so out of it. So I believe it was Heartland Knits. I know I met you. I believe that was you at Loop. Thank you for coming up to me. You really did make my day. Michelle could tell you, I was like giggling, and I'm just like, I was in shock. I'm like, somebody recognized me? What? So I hope I didn't look too shell-shocked in the picture, because we took pictures, or she took a picture and I forgot to grab my phone, and yeah. Again, bad podcaster, no cookie. But yeah, so that was kind of weird and awesome at the same time. I was recognized in the line for the bathroom too, I think by Turtle Pearl. Um, it's one of those things, women's bathroom lines, we get chatty. And really all you can do is just chat. And she and her friends were really nice. We were just kind of going back and forth. She's like, oh yeah, you're Sheepish. Sheepish podcast, right? And I'm like, oh my god, yes. And Michelle, who's known me for years, is just kind of like, this is kind of awesome, okay. And then she's like, wow, you're acting shy all of a sudden. And yeah, I was. There's more. There's definitely more. But it's one of those things that while I'm really fairly outgoing and, hi, I put myself out on the internet, when I'm in person, if I don't know you, and, well, like with podcast, not just when it comes to podcasters, there were podcasters galore. Quite a few I recognized. I may have seen Leslie when I was in line for Jenny the Potter, and it was so early, and I really was just like, she looked like she was on a mission to walk out of the barn because she had gotten her stuff, and it was kind of crowded. So I was just like, I'm chickening out. But like I saw Amy in that line, Emily from What You Swatch, and she actually saw me, and we were like, hey, how you doing? And then kind of went our separate ways. But I was like, next time I run into somebody, I'm going to say hi. And when I did, I ran into Leslie and Laura once more. That they were coming in next to me into a barn. And I looked up, and I did like the dumbstruck, like, I couldn't say hi. I mean, this was not a very long period of time, but I felt like an idiot. It was the cripplingly shy. I don't know why. Kind of hard to think. I mean, it's hard for me to think about, but I've done this my whole life. I get fairly shy, but I don't care. It's like, I don't mind it when people walk up to me. I guess it's like this whole, well, I don't care if people walk up to me, and I love it, and I love to talk to people, and I'll talk to a stranger, no problem. It's just the context. It's like, I hate feeling like I'm in somebody else's space. I don't know. I'm broken. But Michelle thought that was the funniest thing, just because she's just like, I know you. You're not shy, yet you can be, and you put yourself out there. And I'm like, I know, I put myself out on the internet. The interwebs knows me, and I can't talk to people. Yeah. Anyway, back to the hall, as it were. So, after we left Loot, we finally found Into the World. We basically did almost an entire circle to find Into the World. So, let me dig them out. Sorry, that's for later. Sorry. So, I was going into the World with the idea of I was getting the Doctor Who colorways. I had seen them. I'd seen them on Knitting in Circles because Amy was in the Fiber and Yarn Club, and I've never been able to get in. And so she was in when they were doing the Doctor Who colorways, and I remember Captain Tight Pants. I kind of wanted to get that because the colors were awesome, but they were so similar to something else that I got that I was like, if I want it, I'll go ahead and I'll get it off the site. But Into the World, I ended up getting the Gloucester 2-ply 80/20 Superwash Merino and Nylon blend because I knew that I would use these. If not for socks, they'd make a great shawlette. And so the first colorway I got was Children of Time. So you've got like this gray going into like a brownish, burgundy-ish plum, into all of like the purples and navy blues. You've got, and this, it's like a slate blue on the end. It looks kind of teal to me on the monitor, but this is like really more of a slate blue. So Children of Time. And then the next one is Mercy Hardigan. Oh. So So you've got the grays. I'm on a gray kick into that wineish burgundy color, into like a true red, coral, and ending in this peach. Oh, there's a lot of, because I love it. Vampires of Venice, which is actually the first color that I saw when I was standing outside in line waiting to get into the booth. So I immediately grabbed it. And you've got this brown. Oh, I don't know how that's actually showing up on there, but it's a brown going into this dark plum into the navy, which kind of goes into this purple into the navy. And then you've got the sky blue going into like this tealish color going into an olivey green. Oh. And then bigger on the inside, because really. And all of these colors are showing up really kind of off for me, at least on my monitor. But it's this dark teal going into a lighter teal, the gray, going into a brown, the orange, which is much more pumpkin-y, I guess, a little brighter, and then going into this, which is actually a sunny yellow, like a soft, clear, sunny yellow. So that's bigger on the inside. Yeah. I heart them. No clue what I'm going to do with them. I actually think that the Children of Time colorway, I want to design socks around that, but I'm going to have to see how it knits up. So there might be some swatching going on at Shea Sheepish. But that was Into the World. So once we got through Into the World, we were like, well, let's go ahead and go to Hobbledehoy. And since Hobbledehoy was down at the lower vendors, so like at the far end, we could work our way back and just take our time coming back. So that's what we did. And so at the Hobbledehoy booth, there was also the Marigold Jen yarn there. Oh, it was so pretty. I was very good. I did not get any Marigold Jen. However, I did convince Michelle that she needed to get this beautiful, gorgeous, clear butter yellow lace weight, because it looks gorgeous against her skin. And she was just like, well, if I'm getting one, should I get two? And I went, yes. So while she was getting that, I was looking at more fiber, because again, I spend so much. But this is their classic bats in the agate colorway. Yeah, this is really dulling things down. These are like really bright jewel tones. And the contents, it's Polworth, Tencel top, Tussa silk, fine alpaca, and some Angelina sparkle. And some sequins, apparently. It's just fun. It's 4 ounces. Yeah, 4.4 ounces. Yeah, I have no clue what to do with them, but it's pretty. So, and it looks like it's 3 balls, which is kind of nice, because if you want to 3-ply it, it's already broken up into 3 for you. So after Hobbledehoy, we decided that we were going to go ahead and eat. Because really, there's food, and it's, fair food, love it. But we went back to the car, dumped our stuff, came back, because, you know, having pottery, kind of heavy. Michelle got 2 mugs and a yarn bowl. So we wanted to put stuff in the car, and we came back out, and we ate, walked around, saw a very, very cute, very vocal black kid. He had just lost his friend because his friend was sold. And he was just kind of looking at everybody and bleeding. Like there were 2 other baby goats in the pen with him. and a mama, and he didn't want anything to do with them. He just kept looking at all the strangers, taking pictures of him and bleeding. So cute. And the person with them went, yeah, he's been looking for his friend since this morning. So we got some pictures of that. We walked around the entire fairgrounds. And we went into some of the barns that we didn't go in before because you have to. So, yeah, we actually exercised a lot of self-control. She and I both have a thing for socks that rock yarn. And normally we would have hit the fold first. But I was like, Jenny the Potter must get that. So we went back into the barn that had the socks that rock, the fold. And we looked around, and it was like there wasn't anything that I could live without, because I have a ton of socks that rock that's in my stash. Not all of it's on Ravelry. Actually, 90% probably isn't. Yeah, that's a project. So we actually walked out of the booth, and we were like, self-control? Us? What? So then we saw that there was a vendor, I believe it's Vulcan's Rest, who had some Wollmeise. They had in their little window, because they had an end booth, and so they had windows going out, saying, we have Wollmeise. Well, damn. So we fought our way into this really tiny booth to these two baskets they had way in the back with Wollmeise. Yeah. Excuse me. And having never really knit with Wollmeise before, I just kind of felt it. I wasn't sure how I'd like it, but I figured if I got anything, I would get enough to make something. So these three colors came home with me. I'm actually thinking that these will become a color affection. Maybe something else, I don't know. We've got over 1,500 yards to play with. But I picked three colors. This is showing up more like a slate blue, but it really is a nice gray. This is showing up more foresty green, but it's a really deep teal. And this is actually showing up, if you think of this a little brighter, that's the color this is. So it's the twin We're Different and Grunfink. I'm not even going to try and pretend that I said that right. The twin in Maus Jung. And the 100% Merino Superwash. Okay, so this is a lot less. This is 350 meters, but whatever. But the 100% Merino Superwash in Flaschenpost. I'm sure I butchered these. But they're going to become something. They're going to be beautiful. Hopefully I will love knitting with them as much as everybody says. Or at least love the project, the finished project, as much as everybody says I will. So that was the Wollmeise. And then we went back to Signature. And, surprisingly enough, the lines were going really quickly for them. So I was like, what do I need? And I can hear my mother now just saying, you don't need any needles, you've got a ton, which she's right, I do have a ton of needles. But I decided that I was going to get a couple more pairs, because how often do I see Signatures in person? So I picked up a set of the US 3s and US 4s. So they're the 5-inch needle tips with the stiletto points, and they're 32 inches long. So they're fairly versatile. I'm looking forward to getting these on projects. How bad is that? I'm going, I've got a project that needs a 4. Okay, great. But yeah, so that was the sheep and wool haul. And compared to years past, that's pretty darn good. I stuck to what I wanted to get. I only veered off a couple of times, and then I was done. So probably by like 1:30 or so, we were just kind of like crowded out. We'd been there. If you might be able to tell, I'm a little red. I didn't realize I'd sunburned. Yeah. I'm a special little flower. So we left and we decided to head over to Fiberspace because Fiberspace was hosting a trunk show for Plucky Knitter that day. I managed to get out of Fiberspace that day without anything because I didn't have anything that I couldn't think of enough of anything in the Plucky sweater that I wanted, or so. But I taught the next day, and I saw a very cute sweater called Springtime in Virginia by Kirsten Kapoor. Yeah. Again, sorry, Mom. 7 skeins of the Plucky sweater in fine tooth comb. That 7th skein should buy me enough extra, because I think that the pattern for my size calls for 6. So buying the extra skein, I'm not going down that path like I did with the owl sweater. So, yeah. And also with that, I ended up picking up, because I mentioned to Michelle that I was looking for something in a DK weight that was fairly drapey, that for a sweater in Vogue Knitting, in the spring-summer issue of Vogue Knitting. It's the Lacy Batwing sweater, if you've got that magazine. I think it's either number 21 or 22. But I needed some of that. I need some DK, and I was like, I need it to drape. I think it needs to be able to dress up, dress down. And she said that she had some Tess Silk and Ivory from a couple of Sheep and Wools ago that she's never used, that she's never going to use, because it's just been sitting there. And it was red, and if I wanted it, I could have it. Well, we got back to her place, and she showed it to me, and it's maybe not as... It doesn't have as that really super warm undertone that I'm seeing right here. It's a little bit more blue. But there's silk and ivory, and it's 50% silk, 50% wool. And I think technically, it's been a while since I've used this. I think technically it's a worsted, or it's supposed to be a worsted. Oops. But it really is a DK to a sport. Okay, really? You're gonna misbehave? Oops. Sorry. But yeah, it really is kind of that DK to a sport weight. So I have 3 skeins. Yay! Winding these, not going to be fun. If I remembered that, I remember that from the last time I had the Silk and Ivory. The crazy skein winders. The Tessa's yarn generally just kind of throws up on a skein winder, so, or on a ball winder. So it's going to be interesting to wind that. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. The scouting report was all sheep and wool, all stash enhancement. Yeah, I'm going to go back to not buying for a while now. I've been really good up to this point. So I guess that brings us to what's making me happy this week. Well, I mentioned earlier, everybody who sent me well wishes, notes just asking if I was okay, offering to help if there's anything they could do. Thank you so much. Since it was all work related, there really is nothing that anybody can do other than make my days 36 hours long instead of 24. Which would suck. But now that I know that the team member I thought was leaving is not leaving, and I might be able to hire somebody soon, that makes me very, very happy. Sheep and wool, obviously made me happy. It was nice to go after having been away for a while. I had that same feeling of excitement that I got my first year at Sheep and Wall. And I got to spend it with a really good friend. I got to spend the day with a really good friend, which makes me happy as well. But yeah, other than that, really just kind of getting back in the groove of things. That's making me happy. There's a little on the what's not making me happy, which when I actually went camping, I actually managed to bruise my tailbone. So right now I'm kind of sitting propped up with lots of stuff under me, so that way I'm not really putting a lot of pressure. So if you've seen me fidgeting a little, that's why. So I went to the doctor about that yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And she's given me some great anti-inflammatories. She gave me a muscle relaxant, that's awesome. But she wants me to see a specialist. She wants me to see an ortho, and then, depending on the x-rays, possibly PT. I'm not looking forward to that. I don't have time for it. I need to do it. Yes, I know. But it's one of those... So, that's definitely not making me happy. But it's a reminder that I've got a great boss who's very concerned, and who was immediately like, when I told her I was making an appointment to see the doctor, she's like, yes, go see the doctor, see what needs to be done, and will be willing to work with me on all of that. So it kind of makes me happy. So yeah, that's it for what's making me happy this week. I am going to actually start a new section called Hockey Talk. I might give it a clever name afterwards, but I realized I haven't been talking about it, so we're going to go ahead and segue into that. So when I was doing a huge catch-up, of podcasts, I had a backlog of Emily Holding the Sticks podcast, and watching her podcast, and she was doing, because I'm now woefully behind on podcasts again. She was doing a series of Hockey 101, where she was actually going through and teaching what different things mean. What the different minor penalties are. I think she's going to go into the major penalties, but she had explained the parts of the ice, and it made me realize that I hadn't been talking hockey, and that was part of what I wanted to kind of set this apart. So, we're going to do a little bit of hockey talk. I'm going to keep it short this week because this is going to run long, because High Stash Enhancement ran very long. But really, just to give you a little bit of background on my thing, I got into hockey, I guess it was around 2000, the year 2000. I worked for LL Bean at the time, and it was when we were bringing LL Bean down from Maine, so opening the first store outside of Maine. And so half of the staff were people from this area, from the DC area, that went up to train, and the other half were Mainers that were coming down. And so part of fostering staff relationships, we got a box at a Caps game, back when they were affordable. We got a box at a Caps game, and it was mandatory fun. Everybody had to go. And growing up in this area, I knew about the Caps. I had a friend who was a huge Caps fan, but I was never interested in it. I grew up in the era of when the Redskins were good. And even then I wasn't all that interested. I didn't grow up around sports in the house. So, yeah, that just kind of dated me, the Redskins being good. But I went, and the people that I was with, all the Mainers, since they'd been either playing hockey or on skates, and had brothers and sisters who played at the collegiate level, they were more than happy to answer all of my questions. I came away from that game, we won. We actually won, but I came away from that game with an understanding of the game, very small understanding, and I was learning, but with a love for the game, going, how did I never discover this before? And it's because I never went to a game. And then after that, I would go to games whenever I could, and which wasn't very often because, it wasn't, tickets, even the cheap tickets in the nosebleed seats were not inexpensive. They weren't wildly expensive like they are now. They were definitely more affordable, and you can pick up day of game seats at a much better rate than you can now. But I was able to pick up, tickets every now and then, and I started watching it on TV, and I started learning the game. Once I learned the game, I fell in love with it. I have been a Caps fan since 2000. I've seen us through 5 coaches. Yeah. I really like what our new coach is doing. We're in the playoffs. The playoffs are always an exciting period for me, but also really hard, really nerve-wracking. If on my Twitter feed, not the podcast Twitter feed, I tend to talk hockey a little bit more, and when I'm tweeting during a game, it's not safe for children. But I mean, I've made a lot of friends through hockey. I mean, through Twitter and hockey. I'm not very polite when I'm talking about that, and I think that bad calls have been made. But I've had so much fun with this, and I've loved bringing friends in. One of my best friend, who, I think she'd watched games before, but she started watching them in earnest when she and I would go to games. And she, to this day, is my favorite person to go to hockey games with, because she'll act stupid with me. She's just as excited about our boys. And now that she lives in Ohio, she watches on Game Center and on NHL Game Center. And so we've been IMing back and forth during games, going, oh my God. So playoff season is always just nerve-wracking, just to see how far we'll go. We have a nickname. Our guys have a nickname. They've had it for many years, the Cardiac Caps. And they live up to it every playoff season. We are in our 3rd game of playoffs, of round 1 of the playoffs. The playoffs are a best of 7 series. So we were the number 3 seed. We actually won our division, the Southeast Division, and it was the last time that anybody will ever win a Southeast Division championship. So yay! But we won that. So we were a number 3 seed going in, which meant that we played the number 6 seed. Wow, math is hard. Who are the New York Rangers. We meet up with them every playoff season, it seems. Yeah. Last year, we met up with them in the 2nd round of the playoffs, and they eventually won in 7 games. This year, like I said, we're in Game 3. We've won the first 2. We lost last night's game, and we play again tomorrow. Tomorrow, I will be wearing my jersey, or I will actually be wearing a Cap shirt to work, and I'm bringing my jersey so I can put it on during the webinar. Because, yeah, no bad juju. But yeah, I'm really excited about this playoff season. Hopefully, what I'm planning on doing with this a little bit more is talking a little bit more about, why I love them, why I love the Caps, because this is totally going to be a Cap-centric. So if you don't like the Caps, you can always skip this part. But really talking about what's going on in the playoffs, talking a little bit more about the players. Now is when you start hearing a lot more about, a lot of in-depth articles about players. And we've got some good eggs on our team. I big puffy heart them. So, yeah. So that's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. If it's your first time, thank you for giving it a shot. And if it's your 15th time, thank you so much for waiting. You have no clue how much that means to me. I said that I'd explain why it was 15.5, and that's because I have recorded episode 15 5 times. I have recorded episode 15 the first 2 times. That first week I was in Atlantic City in March. Recorded the second 2 times the second week I was in Atlantic City in March. So this one is the charm. Number 5, 15.5. So have a great week. If you need to reach me, you can always reach me on Ravelry as KnitGirl, spelled conventionally. You can email me at sheepishpodcast@gmail.com, or you can plurk me or tweet me at sheepishpodcast. Thanks everybody for watching, and have a great week. Bye.